wanted to introduce our special speaker. We have Rabbi Buxbaum joining us. He's the director of the Love Experience in Greater Washington, D.C., the author of the 4 Elements of an Empowered Life, and he has a weekly podcast called Empowered Jewish Living. Thank you so much for joining us, Rabbi Buxbaum.
Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate it. It sounded when you introduced me that you said the love experience is actually, which it did sound like you said that, but it's the Lev experience, Lev like heart, but I'll take it. Either way, the love experience is also good. And that being said, it's beautiful. Daniela, there are now 57 participants on. And the truth is I'm clicking through a little bit just through everyone's screens to see all of everyone, to see all the faces. I mean, I'm not on my usual computer, so I'm like, careful, I don't want to touch anything and mess it up over here. But I see lots of new faces that we haven't seen on previous Mind Flexes. So this is amazing. It's amazing. And obviously it's an inspiring time of year. It's Elul, we know that. It's coming up on Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, the high holidays, Yom Noram are coming up. So it's a beautiful and it's exciting time of year. And what an appropriate way to be spending a Wednesday evening learning together. You know, everyone knows that one of the fun parts of Elul is all the acronyms. Everyone's familiar, right? Give me a nod your head, right? You've heard, I'm sure, an acronym. Everyone hears Anila Dodi Vidodi Li, and there's so many different acronyms, and it's almost like, you know, the Torah and the Nevi'im just planted all these little different hints to Elul all over the place, just to try to call our attention to like what we should be focusing on. And to me, one of the most beautiful ones and unlikely ones is this idea that Elul, this quote from Megillas Esther, from the book of Esther, from Purim, Ish l'reyehu umatanos le'evyonim. Ish is an aleph, l'reyehu is a lamed, umatanos, with a vav, le'evyonim, which is the part of the Megillah that says that on Purim we should share gift baskets with each other. Ish l'reyehu, right? Friends should share gift baskets, food baskets, umatanos le'evyonim, and give gifts to the poor. And that's one of the reasons why Purim has this unity theme. It's a day of togetherness because of that. And the fact that over here we have this unusual acronym that links together Purim with Elul shows that part of the avoda, part of what we're supposed to be doing in Elul is connecting with one another, giving gifts to one another. And over here, this whole program of Project Inspire and one-on-one learning, this idea of pairing people together, Ish l'reyehu, people finding each other, probably from different backgrounds, those who have what to give to one another, the greatest gift, which is the gift of ruchnius, the gift of spirituality, because we know we could have everything. We could have everything. But if we're missing that piece, if we don't have that person that we can call up on the phone or on the Zoom and say, listen, I want to discuss my spirituality. Let's learn something together. Let's talk about how we're doing. We know that it's a lonely world without that. It's a lonely world. You can have 5,000 friends on Facebook and 10,000 Instagram followers. I wouldn't know, actually. No, it's not that I'm even close. But I would imagine that you can have all this and you can have even a beautiful marriage and great kids. But without that Ish l'reyehu, without that, there is a feeling of loneliness, of being alone. So it's beautiful, Elul, to come together in this type of forum and be able to share with each other and learn together a little bit about it. You know, I was just thinking as Danielle was getting everyone set, that when we blow Chauffeur on Rosh Hashanah, so the main sound that we blow is a teruah, right? We have a tkiya, the long one, and then we have a shvarim, which is broken, and then we have a teruah, which is the very broken sound. And in fact, the root of that word teruah comes from the root of resh ayin, which is ra, which people might say is evil, but it's not really evil. It's broken. It's brokenness. Now, the word for friend, ish l'reyehu, a friend, has that very same root, resh ayin. Now, why would friend have a root, the root of the word friend, be broken? Why would it be brokenness? That same ra is in there with re'ehu, ish l're'ehu, v'ahavta l're'acha kamocha. Why would it have that same root? But what is friendship? Friendship itself is the idea that, you know what, we're all a little bit broken. We are all a little bit broken. Why? Because we're all connected to one huge, incredible, major soul, the collective soul of humanity. And therefore, we're all a little bit we're all a broken piece of that. And without one another, we feel broken. So part of Elul and part of this idea of blowing the teruah, when we're blowing this teruah on Rosh Hashanah, we have this long sound that shows we come from this tekiah, we come from a place that's whole. But in this world, we're all a little bit broken. And where are we trying to get back to? That place of tekiah, that long, solid sound, that place of oneness. So it's so beautiful to be coming together. Now 58 people on this call, learning together, getting ready for Rosh Hashanah together. And just before we start, just a quick introduction, just for fun. Rosh Hashanah it's a little tricky because we teach our children, and we were taught as children one idea of Rosh Hashanah. But then when we look at the literature of Rosh Hashanah, we see a little bit of a different picture. And we're going to be learning about that tonight together with our partners. But just for fun, I want to ask you, put in the chat. If you can put 3 words, you can put 2, you could put 1, but just for fun, put in the chat 3 words that you could think of. If you can boil down Rosh Hashanah to 3 words, bam, 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 right? What's it going to be? 3 words that you would use to describe Rosh Hashanah. Just throw it in the chat. If you can't think of 3, don't be bashful. Throw in 2, throw in 1. Let's see what we come up with. Dveikus, tshuva, new beginning. Kingship, judgment, new beginnings. Avinu Malkeinu, correction, introspection. They're coming in fast. Malchus, freshness, introspection. Sweet, happy apples, love it. Chauffeur, renewal, leadership, growth. We'll take a few more and then we'll stop. Challenging, interesting. Feast of trumpets. You got a whole sentence in there. Connection, tears, joy, celebration, realignment, assessment. Beautiful. These are fantastic. Food, love it. Baal Shem Tov, didn't see that one coming. Accountability. All right. Keep it coming, but I'm going to move on. It's interesting that if we want to think about in Jewish literature, what are the 3 words that Chazal, what are 3 words that our sages used to describe it? And they were actually all buried in there amongst that chat. But birthday of the world. Thank you, Judy. Chazal, they saw the 3 words that they saw are the words Malchios, kingship, which was in there, Zichronos, remembrance, and Shofros, right? Chauffeur, Reba put it in there. Chauffeur. Why? Because those are the 3 sections of Musaf. And what we're going to speak about on the other side, after you learn with your partner, what we'll speak about on the other side is, what is the deeper essence? Why specifically these 3? What is the deeper messaging of Rosh Hashanah? Because it's not just the day of getting depressed, and it's not just the day of we love apologizing. We love our Jewish guilt, right? We're always saying sorry for everything. We wake up, we're apologizing, we're feeling guilty, right? But we'll see Rosh Hashanah it's not meant for that. Rosh Hashanah is a whole different vibe. And these 3 words capture that in a way that perhaps we've never even noticed before. And I want to ask one more question, and then I'll let everyone go to their groups, which is something to think about. And someone asked me this question a few weeks ago. I heard this question. I thought it's a very interesting question. Most of us, we spend 3 weeks during the summer, 3 weeks thinking about the temple, focusing on how we're deficient. And then we have this day of Tisha B'Av. And again, obviously you need to space out Tisha B'Av from Yom Kippur. Nobody wants to fast, because it would be like 3 fasts that were very close together if Yom Kippur was any closer. But one has to wonder, wouldn't it be amazing to start Elul right after Tisha B'Av, right? We're already focused. We're already in the zone. We're already focusing on deficiency. We've been given a good wake-up call, right? Tisha B'Av. We fasted, destruction of the temple. Everybody's awake. Wouldn't it flow nicely to jump right into Elul? Come right to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Again, obviously we have that whole fast issue, put that aside, right? But it's kind of weird that it's like Tisha B'Av and we're all like psyched and focused. And then it's like 3 weeks of vacation, go to the beach, party a little bit, okay, back to Elul. Let's get focused again. It's a weird balance in the calendar. Why don't we just package it all together? So something else just to think about, and we'll answer that at the end. But I encourage everyone, take a close look, because the package itself that was prepared by Project Inspire is beautiful and profound. And you'll go to your rooms now, and go to your rooms now. I sound like a mean father. But we'll meet each other on the other side. So see you soon.
For anybody who needs, I'm putting a link in the chat box to the learning material so you can access it quickly.
Some of you already purchased it. So how was the learning? Give a thumbs up if it worked out well. All right, good. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you, Julian, for the extra plug in the chat. I appreciate it. So it's something absolutely beautiful and profound because, again, we grew up as children and, Rosh Hashanah, Yom HaDin, the Day of Judgment. And obviously, we're coming in and as we saw in the learning, the Talmud already sets the tone. And the Talmud says that on Rosh Hashanah, the tzaddikim, the righteous ones, are going to be written in the book of life, and the Rishaim, the evil ones, are going to be written in the other book. And if you're mediocre, you're kind of in limbo until Yom Kippur, and that creates obviously a certain tension to the day where all we really feel like we have the shpilkes, right? All we have the patience, the heart to do is to go to God, to go to Hashem and say, God, give me my life. I want another year. But yet, when we open up our prayer books, we don't see that. That's not the language. The language is something very different. We're talking about we're talking about this utopian world. We're talking about what is this vision? What is this euphoria that we dream of? This ultimate goal of mankind, litaken olam, tikkun olam, the future, right? That's what we're speaking about. And we're not mentioning a lot about ourselves. We're not apologizing. We're not begging God for the vast majority of the prayers. And therefore, the prayers set a little bit of a different tone. And how do we square these two things? It's interesting that there's a very famous debate between two great commentaries on the Talmud, the Rambam, Maimonides, and the Ran, Rabbeinu Nissim. Many people are familiar with Maimonides' opinion that he says that who are the tzaddikim? Who are these righteous ones that on Rosh Hashanah they get immediately into the book of life? Who are these evildoers that immediately they get put into the book of non-life? The opposite of that, right? Who are they? So the Rambam, Maimonides, pretty much says that upstairs in heaven, as they're sitting there in the great court in heaven, they're sitting there and they've got a whole ledger, a whole list of all the things that you did this year, all your actions, all the sins that you committed, and all the positive things that you did, and pretty much they tally it up, right? Shing, they got the numbers coming up and the things popping up all over the place, and then it's kind of like a numbers game, So you might have been like going really well and everything was good and you were kind of well balanced, and then you forgot to say Birchat Hamazon that day, whatever it was, or maybe you said it but you hadn't eaten enough of a kizayis to do, right? Whatever it is, and it tipped the scale. That's according to the Rambam. That's what he says. It's kind of a numbers game, and therefore, if you happen to be in balance, you'll be in limbo until Yom Kippur. But if the scale is tipped one way, it might be written in the book of life, and otherwise you won't be. And that's one opinion. And then there's another opinion, Rabbeinu Nissim, the Ran. He says, well, actually, it's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily a numbers game per se, but you might have more sins than you do merit, more mitzvos, but maybe you have one shining mitzvah. Maybe you have that one home run moment, that lollipop moment, that moment where you really shone, I don't know which word to use right now, right? But that moment that made you just glow this year. And you know what? For that moment, you're going to be put right there in the book of life. Shown as the opinion of someone of Enstern in room 16, right? That's the opinion of the Ran. And my heart tells me, little me, who am I to weigh in at all in this great controversy? But my heart tells me that they're not really arguing. I think that overall there are these kind of different ways that we sort of view our relationship to spirituality. Some people like to get everything right. Some people want to be a jack of all trades. No one wants to be just a jack of all trades, but some people we see all of this stuff and we're like, I got to do everything. And therefore our focus is, okay, we're making sure, and it's a beautiful thing, but we're making sure, okay, we got to pray, we got to study Torah, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do chesed, we got to do that. And it many ways, it results in us feeling very, very scattered. And it's almost like with the lack of being able to focus on one thing, the fact that there's so much on my plate, sometimes I just find, I'm just I just feel like I'm just failing in everything because there's so much on my plate. And then there are some people who are able to look and say, listen, and it's probably, something that's part of the evolution of our life, where at some point you're like, listen, I know at this point, I need to focus. I need to find what's my mitzvah. I need to find what's my unique place. What's the thing that really pulls at my heart? What's the thing that really, really inspires me? I know it's like this with a lot of businesses. It's like this in the world of coaching, which, I do some of. But it's like this in many different businesses where they say that now the key to success is when you find your niche. They call it niching out. You ever hear this? So if you say, I am a life coach. Okay, so what is that? What do you really do? No one really knows what that means. So do you do marriage? Do you do parenting? Depression, business? What do you really do? But no, if you say, no, actually what I do is I help people, and you pick something very, very specific. I help 43-year-old men who happen to have their midlife crisis early because they're in the middle of changing jobs while they're standing on one leg in the middle of a keto diet. That's my niche. And then everyone's interested in what you have to say. So there's something about niching out. And in a way, in our spirituality, we're kind of bouncing between these two worlds. This world of, okay, I know that I've got so much to do and I'm just checking the boxes. But also not letting go of the fact that we'll never really fully discover ourselves and where we fit into this beautiful thing called Judaism if we don't find that there's going to be a mitzvah or an area or something that we say, you know what, right now, this is my focus. This is my niche. This is what I'm targeting. The famous Rav Kook used to say, he said that every single Jew in one aspect of Judaism and one aspect of spirituality, they're considered the king of the world. And in a sense, when we go through the Rosh Hashanah prayers, and we see that we're speaking over here about this harmony in creation, God's kingdom. We want to be a soldier in that kingdom that the king knows us for something. This is our thing. And I think that when we're entering into a new year, one way to enter into Rosh Hashanah, to make Rosh Hashanah maybe different from the past, is to say, you know what, as I'm looking ahead, this year, this is the role that I want to play in your army. I don't just want to be a neutral soldier that's just checking boxes. I want to find that one area that this is going to be, at least for this year, this is going to be my specialty. This is what I'm going to be known for. This is really where I'm going to find my rhythm this year. I asked earlier before in the introduction, I said, well, can we find what are those 3 words that you would use to describe Rosh Hashanah? And we said that the 3 words that it seems that the rabbis, the sages who wrote the prayer, they chose the words Malchios, kingship, Zichronos, remembering, which is remembering our actions, and finally Shofros, which is the sound of the shofar. And there's several verses that are quoted. There's a paragraph and many verses that are quoted to support these things. And what are these 3 things? What is the flow? Are they just 3 random concepts? But what's the flow? I think if we take a look at these 3, we actually see a very fascinating progression. Because when we open up and we're speaking about God's kingship, all the things that we're speaking about, the world will come together to recognize God, and all the nations, right, will recognize God's oneness. And we speak about kind of this beautiful, big global vision. And the global vision is very, very nice. But the question is, where do you fit into that? Where do I fit into that? And then we move on to the second section, which is called Zichronot. And here I have the prayer book in front of me. What do we say? You remember the deeds done in the universe. Before you, all hidden things are revealed. There is no forgetfulness before your throne of glory. Nothing is hidden. You remember everything ever done, and not a single creature is hidden from you. See, now suddenly the conversation changes. Because in the first section, when we were speaking about God's kingship, we were speaking about communities and peoples coming together, this big global vision, everyone standing together, singing Kumbaya, right? With your Shlomo Kalbach in the middle playing guitar. Unless you don't like Shlomo Kalbach, then pick your favorite, the Grateful Dead, whatever, whoever you want in the middle of your kumsitz. And now suddenly we're shifting and we're saying, okay, that's really nice, wonderful global vision. Zichronot, where do you fit in? You're the individual. God knows every single individual. And what are the things that you stand for? What role do you play in this army? And then we climb a little bit higher and we move on to shofros. And what is a shofar? A shofar is a breath that's going through this hollow horn. And we know that the shofar is meant, it's a metaphor, it's symbolic of the soul coming into the physical world, entering into the hollow space of this physical world. Just like the breath of the shofar, the soul itself is also the breath of God. And it's entering in. And at the point of shofros, we say, you know what? All my actions and everything else, even those things don't define me. What defines me? The fact that I am a chelek elokam imal. The fact that I am the breath of God. And therefore, if I could just let go of everything that I've attached myself to, everything that I've identified myself with, and I just remember on this day that God, putting all this aside, all the big dreams and all the actions, one thing, I just want to get back to my core, back to my neshama, back to the fact that I am the breath of God, that I am part of you. That's the highest level to stand in Rosh Hashanah before God and say, this is an ultimate reset. So we're climbing this ladder from Malchios, Zichronos, and Shofros to remember who we are at our core, at our essence. And lastly, before we end, we asked the question in the beginning, wouldn't it be great if Elul came right after Tisha B'Av, right? We're sitting there, we're already awake. We've already felt, God's tough love through the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. God, you got my attention. Now let me jump right into repentance and let me come into Rosh Hashanah having so many weeks of consistency. And instead, yet we have this time, kind of this in-between time where we're joyous and it's like Tu B'Av, which is suddenly somehow turning into like Valentine's Day. I don't know, how that happened. Shabbos Nachamu and, party, like what's going on? And then like we're back into El, we're back into serious mode. And the answer that I heard is because if Elul came right after Tisha B'Av, there would be this feeling that, I am doing tshuva, I'm trying to get back to God because we don't want to get whacked again. We don't want to we've had so much pain. Tisha B'Av, we speak about all the pain. Oh, I just don't want that. Let me just be a good boy. Let me just be a good little girl, a good little boy now so I won't get hit again. That's why I'm doing tshuva. And God says, no, I want to separate those two. Because I want you, when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, you should come in fully confident that you deserve to be here. You deserve another year because you are a chelek elokam imal, because you are the breath of God. Because at your core, you're a neshama shenasatabi, you're a neshama that God has given you tahor, you're absolutely pure. And that's the sound of the shofar. The shofar is to remind us that we are bigger than all our activities and all of our actions and all of our mistakes. And that's the message of the sound of the shofar. Then Daniela mentioned my book earlier. One of the things that the goal of when I wrote the book, and the book is about finding your mission, but it takes it a little bit of a different direction. Because instead of going out and saying, I have to change the world, I got to make the world a better place, right? There's a lot of malchios in there. But ultimately, it's about looking inward and asking who you are, who you're meant to be. And when we stand before God in Rosh Hashanah, that's the question that we're supposed to ask. Not who I was, not what are the things that I did, not what am I doing, but who am I? What's my identity? And the shofar answers that. And the shofar empowers us to recognize once again our holiness and to take our place amongst God's kingdom and kingship, knowing that we add value just because we're here, just because we're doing our best, just because we're trying to return and get close to God. So hopefully that is a message that will add some value to your Rosh Hashanah. I appreciate once again that everyone came on. What a beautiful, beautiful turnout. And wishing everyone a ksiva v'chasima tova. May it be written and sealed in the book of life. And may God accept all of your prayers, litova, for the new year. Thank you again, and good night.
Amen. Thank you so much, Rabbi Buxbaum. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And thank you so much to Aliza, who's doing all the technical work for us behind the scenes. And for those of you joining us next week, I just sent out a message. The Zoom link will be the same.